Hey traders, in this short video I will show you everything you need to know to get started with the Supertrend Performance study for ThinkOrSwim. This includes importing the study to the platform, applying it to the chart, changing the parameters, running buy and sell scans. But we will also look at creating watch lists based on your scan results and creating custom columns showing the profit factor for each symbol that was picked up in the scan. So without further ado, let's get started. The Supertrend Performance package consists of three files. First, we have the Supertrend Performance study file, which is needed to import the study to ThinkOrSwim. Then we have a PDF file called Supertrend Performance Scan Queries, which, as the name says, contains the scan queries for the buy and sell signal scans. And then we also have a text file called Supertrend Performance Profit Factor column, which is required to create the custom column showing the profit factor. But for now, we are going to focus on the Supertrend Performance study file needed for importing the study to ThinkOrSwim. In order to import the study into ThinkOrSwim, you first need to open up the platform and navigate to the Charts tab. In there, you go to Studies and click on Edit Studies. This will open up a new dialog box, and you click on the Import button. Then navigate to the location of the Supertrend Performance study file, which is part of your download package. You select the file and click Open. Once done, the study is now available in the list of all studies, as you can see, as Supertrend Performance, and the import process is complete. In order to apply the study to the chart, you go back to Studies and click on Edit Studies. Then on the left-hand side, you navigate to Supertrend Performance, which you can do by simply typing in the beginning of the word. You see Supertrend Performance and you double-click on it. This will apply the study to the Price tab here, and you click Apply. Once done, the study is now applied to the chart. In this case, we have a Tesla chart on the daily time frame. And the first thing you can see is that we have these arrows printed onto the chart. These are buy and sell signals. Blue arrows are buy signals and white arrows are sell signals. We also have a line printed below or above the price bars. This is our trading stop. In case of a long trade, the trading stop is blue and printed below the candles. And in case of a short trade, the trading stop is white and printed above the candles, which you can see here. So above the candles is a trading stop for sell trades, and below the candles is a trading stop for buy trades. In addition to all this, we also have a statistics panel on top of the chart with very important information. The first one is profit factor. It shows you how profitable has been the indicator historically speaking. In this case, the profit factor is 1.55. As a rule of thumb, a profit factor above 1 indicates a profitable trading system and below 1 a not profitable system. The higher the profit factor, the better it is. The next indication is tick P&L, which shows you how many ticks have been made trading this system historically speaking. In this case, 10,347 ticks have been made, which roughly corresponds to $103 had we traded a single share at the time of Tesla. The next information is total trades. Here we can see that a total of 11 trades, both long and short, have been made with an average profitability of 45%. While 45% may not seem high, but this is okay in this case because with Supertrend, typically the winners are much bigger than the losers. So even with a profitability of below 50%, the trading system itself can be profitable. And then you can see how many long trades were taken in the 6 and how many of these long trades were profitable. In this case, 50%. And we also have short trades, 5 short trades with an average profitability of 40%. And the final information is the start date. The study indicates since when these statistics have been calculated. In this case, it is 2021, September 8. As you can see here, 2021, 0908. Now, let's have a look at how Supertrend Performance actually works. Supertrend Performance is a stop and reverse trading system, which basically means that we are either long or short, but never flat. So for example, let's say we are long, we're on a long trade here. We stay long until our trading stop is triggered. And by default, the trading stop is triggered when the bar closes below our blue trading stop line in case of a long trade. If this happens, we reverse our position and go short. So from this point on here, we are short and we stay short up until our trading stop, which is the white line, is triggered, which is when the bar closes above our white line. And from this point on, we go long again. There are two parameters in Supertrend Performance which define how far or how near the trading stop is away from the price bar. The further it is away, the more room we give the trade and we stay in a position longer. And the closer it is, the tighter is our stop loss and we may get stopped out quicker and reverse the position earlier. Now, what are these two parameters? You can see them by going back to Studies and go to Edit Studies. And then you click on the Settings tab of Supertrend Performance. And the first two parameters are the multiplier and the period parameter. The distance of the trading stop is a multiple of the average true range. The average true range is, roughly speaking, the average bar size, calculated over the last 14 bars in this case. So in this case, we have the trading stop defined as the average true range over the last 14 bars times 2. And times 2 is the multiplier. The bigger the multiplier, the further the trading stop is away. For example, if we increase the multiplier from 2 to 2.5, we can observe that the trading stop will now be further away from the price bars, which basically will give the trade more room and we stay in a trade longer. And what we can observe is that the total number of trades will go down. Whether this is better or worse in terms of performance can be observed in the profit factor. So let's try it out. Let's increase the profit factor from 2 to 2.5 and click Apply. And we can see that the profit factor has slightly increased from 1.55 to 1.57. We now had 9 trades over the look-back period with an average profitability of 56%. So let's go back to the settings and perhaps now decrease our period from 14 to 7. Which basically means that the average calculation for the average true range now only takes into account the last 7 bars instead of the last 14 bars. I click Apply again, and we can now see that our profit factor has increased to 5.45, but we only had 7 trades and an average profitability of 71%. As you can see, the statistics make it very easy to understand what was the effect of a parameter change. Was it productive or counterproductive to the overall trading system? One important thing to understand is also the look-back period for calculating the statistics. And this look-back period can be seen here as the start date. In this case, we can see that the statistics were calculated based on the date of 2021, September 8th. We can see here, which in this case are all the bars on the chart, because we have loaded exactly 1 year of data to this chart. Now you can increase the number of bars loaded to the chart by simply going to the D here, or whatever time frame you have loaded. It's called time frame setup. You navigate to time frame and then change the time interval to a bigger amount, for example from 1 year to 3 years. I click Apply, and we can now see that the start date has changed to 2019 September 9. And now the statistics were calculated based on this start date. We can see that we now had an overall number of 22 trades and a profit factor of 3.69 for the symbol. So let's increase the look back period one more time by loading more bars to the chart. So we can go back to the D icon here and we'll go back to time frame. And in this case, I will select the time interval of max available, which will basically load all the available historical bars for the daily time frame to the chart. I click OK and the chart is being updated. And if you scroll all the way back to the very first bar, we can see that the very first bar takes place around 2010. But for some reason, as you can see here, the start date says 2017 September 8. Why is that? Well, we have built into Supertrend Performance an auto look back functionality, because in our opinion, often it does not make sense to go back too far. Price action happened a very long time ago may not be relevant at all anymore nowadays. This is why we have a default auto look back feature enabled. So what are these look back periods? For time frames between 1 minute and 4 minutes, the look back period is 15 days. For time frames between 5 minutes and 10 minutes, the auto look back period is 30 days. From 15 to 30 minutes, it is 60 days. Between 1 hour and 2 hours, it is 180 days. And everything above 2 hours, the default auto look back period is 1825 days. Now, it is important to understand that if your chart does not contain enough data to cover the entire lookback period, then the lookback starts with the first bar available on the chart. If you don't want to use the auto lookback feature, you can disable it in the settings. For this, you go back to Studies, Edit Studies, and go to Properties. And here you have two parameters. The first one is Backtest Auto Lookback. By default, it is set to yes, but you can set it to no. And then with the backtest started, you can indicate when your backtest lookback period should start. So for example, here we could say it should start from, let's say, 2012 September 1st up until today. I click OK and apply, and we can now see that the start date has changed to 2012 September 1st with a profit factor of 2.7 and 99 trades taken in that period of time. There's one more feature which is important to point out. Let's have a look at the trading stop. So in this case, let's look at the short trading stop here, indicated by the white line. As you can see here, this bar actually had a high above the trading stop, but did not close above it. Thus the trade remains open. In some cases you do not want to have this, and you want the trade to reverse when even the trading stop is touched without needing to close above it. This can be achieved by simply changing the parameter reverse policy, which is by default set to on close, to on touch. Once we do this, the trade would be reversed whenever the trading stop is touched. So if I click apply, you can see here that the trading stop in this case was reversed when the trading stop was touched. Let's have a quick look at the styling parameters of Supertrend Performance, which can be used to alter its appearance. For this, we once again go back to Studies and Edit Studies, and we go to Settings. The first parameter which can alter the appearance is Show Panel, which basically decides whether the statistics panel should be shown yes or no. So if we select it to no and apply it, the panel would no longer be shown. The next parameter is Color Price Bars. As you can see here, whenever we are in a buy trade, the candles are colored blue, and whenever we are on a sell trade, they are white. You can disable this behavior by simply selecting Color Price Bars to no. And then we also have Color Fill, which fills the space between the trading stop and the candles. So if you select it to yes and deselect Color Price Bars and deselect Show Panel, let's have a look how the appearance will look like. So I click OK and apply. And now we can see that we have a fill between the trading stop and the price bars. The price bars themselves are no longer colored, and the statistics panel up here is no longer shown. Now that you know how to apply Supertrend Performance to the chart and how to configure it, let's have a look how we can scan for buy and sell signals among a big set of different symbols. For this, go back to your downloaded files and open up the PDF file Supertrend Performance Scan Queries. Once opened up, you can see that this PDF contains two links, one for buy scans and one for sell scans. Let's start with the buy scan. Go to the link, right-click and click Copy Link Location. Then go back to ThinkOrSwim and select the Scan tab up here. Then go to Setup in the top right corner and click on Open Shared Item. And in here you paste the scan query from the PDF file for the buy scans. Click Preview. It should say Supertrend Performance Buy Scan. Once you have confirmed this, click Import, and the import is completed and you can close this little window here. Then you will do the same thing for the cell scans. So go back to the PDF, go to the cell scan query, right click, copy link location, back to ThinkOrSwim, click on Setup, open shared item, paste the URL, click on Preview, Supertrend Performance Cell Scan, and click on Import, and close the little window. The import now is complete. Now that we have imported these scan queries, let's see how we can run a scan. In order to load the scan, go to the middle menu here on the right hand side and click Load Scan Query, and then navigate to Supertrend Performance. It's under S, Supertrend Performance by Scan. You select the scan, and it is now loaded to the scanner menu, as you can see here. And all you need to do now is to click Scan. And this will then scan for buy signals among all stocks, which are optionable. Of course, you can change this on the daily time frame, which can also be changed. But let's keep it on the daily time frame for now. Click Scan, and this will start the scan process. Depending on how many stocks you have selected, this can take from a couple of seconds to a couple of minutes. The scan process is now complete, and we can see that we have found 129 symbols with buy signals, which are all shown here. A couple of important things. The first thing is that the scan was performed using the default parameters of Supertrend Performance. You can change the parameters by going to this little pencil icon here, which will open up the ThinkScript editor. Make sure this is selected up top. And in here you can see the input parameters used for the scan. We can see that by default a multiplier of 2 is used and the period of 14. And we use reverse on close. Now you can change these parameters, for example, to, let's say, a multiplier of 3 and a period of 17, and click OK. And then when you click Scan again, you will see that you will receive a new set of scan results now using these parameters for the scan. So I click Scan, and most likely you will now find that there are fewer symbols with a buy signal. And this is due to the fact that we have given all the trades more room by increasing the multiplier, and therefore we are staying longer in the trade and there will be fewer trades altogether. The scan is now complete, and we can see that we only have 30 hits for this configuration, a multiplier of 3 and an input period of 7. Let's go back to the scan settings one more time by clicking on this pencil icon. ThinkScript editor is selected, and we can see that we have reverse on closed set to yes. If you want to change this, all you need to do is to type in the word no, and this will select reverse on closed to no, which basically means that trades are reversed whenever the trading stop is touched, without having the requirement that the bar needs to close above or below the trading stop. The next parameters are scan lookback period and profit factor requirement. By default, the scanner will find signals only if they happen at the very last bar on the chart, which can be too restrictive sometimes. For example, you might be interested in finding signals which happen at the last 5 bars on the chart. This can be done as well by simply changing this parameter scan lookback period from 1 to 5. And by doing so, the scanner will detect signals when they happen at the last 5 bars on the chart. And then we have one more parameter, which is called profit factor requirement. Perhaps you don't want to see scan results if the profit factor is not favorable. For example, if it's below 1, which indicates a non-profitable trading system. This can be done as well by simply setting the profit factor requirement to a higher value, for example to 1.5. And by doing so, the scanner will only find symbols with signals which currently have a buy signal in the last 5 bars with the profit factor above 1.5 and using a multiplier of 3.0 and a period of 7, and reverse on close is set to no. Now that we have seen how to run buy scans in ThinkOrSwim, let's have a quick look at scans for sell signals. For this, we go back to the middle menu on the right hand side, load scan query, and we navigate to Supertrend Performance sell scans in this case and select it. This will load the sell scan query to ThinkOrSwim. And by default, we are using the default settings, a multiplier of 2, input period of 14, and reverse on close is enabled. Also by default, we are scanning through all the stocks which are optionable on the daily time frame. Again, if you want to change any of these settings, you can simply select a new stock universe. You can select a different time frame, or you also can select different scan parameters by simply opening up the Think script editor and changing the values for the multiplier period, reverse on close, or any of the other parameter. One thing that is important is that you do not modify anything below line 8, which will break this scan query. And should you break it, all you need to do to recover it is to re-import it from the link in the PDF. Let's apply the default settings and click on scan. Again, depending on how many stocks you have selected, this can take up to 1 to 2 minutes to complete. The scan is now completed, and we can see that for the sell direction we have 36 hits, meaning that we have 36 symbols which currently at the last bar on the daily time frame have a sell signal. Again, if you want to increase the look back period for the scan, for example, want to pick up all these stocks with sell signals on the last 3 bars, you can easily do this by going back to the settings and change the scan look back period to a higher value, for example 3. One of the great features of ThinkOrSwim is that you can create your custom watch list based on scan results. And this is exactly what we're going to do right now. We are going to create a custom watch list based on the sell scan which we have just ran. In order to do so, we're going to go down all the way to the bottom left and click on this little plus sign here. This will select or display a list of gadgets which you can add to the sidebar. We're going to select the watch list gadget. And by default, this will create a watch list based on a default scan. Now we want to change this to match our sell scan results. We can do this by simply clicking on the default value here and select our Supertrend Performance sell scan. So we're navigating to S for Supertrend Performance sell scan. We can see both scans here. We are going to select sell and click OK. Now this will populate our watch list with exactly the same scan results as we have seen here. So if I expand this a little bit, you can see that this watch list now contains all the results from our scan. So APA, AVDL, BKR, and so forth. They are all listed here. And now we have created a custom watch list based on our scan results. And this is really handy when we navigate back to the chart. So let's go back to the chart. And here we have Supertrend already applied. And what we can do now is to first of all change the parameters of our Supertrend indicator to match the parameters used in our Supertrend sell scan. If you remember, we had used a multiplier of 2, an ATR period of 14, and reverse on close was enabled. So let's go back to the settings. We're going to go to Edit Studies, to the settings, and here we select a multiplier of 2, which is already selected, period of 14, great, it's already there, and reverse on close is also selected. Perfect. So we're going to click OK and reapply the indicator to the chart. And now what we can do is to symbol link our watch list with our chart. This is really handy because whenever we then click on a symbol in the watch list, the chart will load accordingly. So what we can do is to go to this little link icon here, which is called symbol link, and pick a color. Let's say yellow. Okay, now all we need to do is to match the symbol link color of the chart with our watch list color. So we're going to go up here, and right next to the symbol name, we again have a little symbol link drop down. We select it and we select the color yellow. And once this is done, it's the second, so we select yellow. And once this is done, our chart and our watch list are now symbol linked. And observe what happens now. Whenever I click on a symbol in our watch list, the chart will update accordingly. And remember, this was a sell scan. So in this case, we have selected APA. The chart has loaded APA. And on the very last bar, we see indeed a sell signal for this symbol. Isn't this great? And you can see how handy it is to quickly navigate through the different symbols, examine the chart, and we know that all these symbols, they must have a sell signal at the very last bar, because this was our scan criteria. Now imagine, had we run the scan with a different criteria. Let's go back to the settings here, and perhaps let me change it a little bit. Perhaps you're going to use a scan look back period of 5 bars. Okay, this will pick up symbols which had signals in the last 5 bars. I'll click OK. I'm going to rerun the scan, and we can see that we have now way more results. Indeed, we have 603 results with sell signals. Why so many? Well, this can be explained quite easily, because now we're looking back at the last 5 bars, not just the last bar. And of course, we are going to pick up way more hits that way. In order to make our watch list reflect these scan results, it is very important that you save your scan query. And you can do this by going again to this middle menu here on the right hand side and select Save Scan Query. You can decide if you want to give it a different name, perhaps Supertrend Performance Sales Scan Look Back of 5 or something else. It is up to you. I'm going to use the same name. I'm going to say Save, click OK, and now the query is saved. And after a little while, and only if it is saved, the watch list, which we had created based on the scan query, will also update. So let's just give it a little bit of time, and you will see that this watch list will be updating. And the first symbol we should be seeing in the watch list is this one here, AAIC. Now the watch list is updated, and we can say indeed the first hit in the watch list is also AAIC, followed by AB and so forth, just like in the scan results. And if you now go back to the chart and open up AAIC, we can see that AAIC did not have a hit on the last bar, as we can see here, but it happened a couple of bars before, and but which is okay, because we're scanning back to the last 5 bars, and the sell signal happened within the last 5 bars. Now that we know how to create custom watch lists based on our Supertrend Performance buy and sell signals, there's one other important question that we need to address. And this is, how can we rank the many signals that we get by their quality? And this is where a custom column for the profit factor comes in. So let me switch over again to our scan results. Here we ran our sell scan on Supertrend Performance with a look back period for scan results of the last 5 bars. And we can see that we had over 600 hits. Way too many hits to go through all these symbols one by one. So we need to have a way to rank these signals by their quality. And this is exactly what we're going to do now. In order to add a profit factor column to our scan results, we go all the way to the right of our scanner to this little wheel icon here, and we click on it, and then we select Customize. This will allow us to add a custom column. On the left hand side, where it says Lookup Column, you click in this field and type in the word Custom. Okay, this will bring up all kinds of results, starting with custom 1, 2, 3. In some cases, in my case, it's custom 10, 11, 12, and so forth. You will pick the first custom value and select Add Item. This will select this column, and the first thing you will do, you will change the name of this column to Profit Factor. Then you switch over to Think Script Editor, and then you replace the content, which is by default simple moving average, as you can see here, with the content of the txt file, the text file, which was in your download package for Supertrend Performance. So I'm first of all deleting the original content. Then I'll go to my download folder, Supertrend Performance. I open the Supertrend Performance Profit Factor column text file by right click and edit. This will open up a notepad. I highlight everything with Ctrl A. I copy it, go back to ThinkOrSwim, and in here, in the ThinkScript editor, I paste the entire content. And I will click OK. And that's it. This will create a custom column in your scanner all the way to the right, which you can see here, profit factor. And once you have done this, you can actually sort your signals, in this case the sell signals, by profit factor by simply clicking on the profit factor column. I will sort it from highest to lowest, and I can see the profit factors being shown here. And the highest is 999, which basically means for this symbols we only had winners. And if we had only had winners, the profit factor in theory is infinite. Since we can't display infinite in this column, the number will be 999. And as you scroll down, you can see all the profit factors going down. And this way you can focus on the symbols with the highest profit factor. If a profit factor is stuck in the loading phase, as we can see here, then you simply ignore the symbol. This means there's something wrong with the historical data and the profit factor could not be calculated. So you focus only on the ones which are not in the loading phase, starting from the ones with 999 moving downwards. One important thing to note is that the time frame for the scan and the time frame for calculating the profit factor must match. If they do not match, the column for the profit factor will not be meaningful. What do I mean by this? So in this case, our time frame for the scan was the daily time frame. This means that the profit factor time frame must be the same, also the daily time frame. How can we check? Simply go to the profit factor column, right click, and go to Edit Formula. And in here, right next to the profit factor name, you can see a little D icon here, which means the profit factor was also calculated for the daily time frame. So you always must make sure these two ones match. If you, for example, want to change the time frame for the scan to perhaps the 15-minute time frame on extended hours, we also need to update the profit factor column accordingly. Again, by right-clicking, we go to Edit Formula, we select the 50-minute time frame here, and you also select Include Extended Hours for Trading. So everything needs to match. In addition to this, also the parameters used for profit factor calculation must be the same as for the scan. So everything needs to match up. So in this case, the multiplier is 2, just like the scan. The period is 14, just like the scan. And reverse on close is set to yes, just like in the scan. We can also create a custom column for the profit factor for our watch list. In order to do so, we navigate to our watch list down here, and again we click on this little gear icon all the way to the right and select Customize. We have already created a custom profit factor column for the scanner, so we do not need to recreate it in this case. We simply need to look it up in the list of all available columns by typing in profit factor. Often the first word is enough, and we see our custom profit column here. We select it and click Add Item. Then we click OK, and we can see that the column now is being added to the right of all the other columns in our watch list. And once the loading is complete, you can once again see the profit factor associated with every sell signal. And once again, you can sort your signals by profit factor from the highest to the lowest, for example. Now that we know how to create custom profit factor columns, let's go through one complete example together. Let's assume again we would like to scan through the daily time frame. So in order to do this, I will change my time frame for the scan from the 50 minutes back to the daily time frame. Let's also assume I would like to have a multiplier of 3.0 instead of 2.0. So I go back to my scan parameters, and I will edit the multiplier from 2.0 to 3.0. And let's assume the other parameters will stay the same. I click OK. Now the scan has been updated, but my profit factor column for the scan results and also for my watch list has not been updated yet. So we're going to go to the profit factor column. Either one is okay because they will affect each other. So I will click on profit factor column, right click, edit formula. And again, I will now change my multiplier from 2.0 to 3.0 because this is what we had for the scan. And I will also change the time frame for the profit factor calculation from 15 minutes to the daily time frame. And I click OK. And all I need to do now is to run my scan again. It will run now on the daily time frame and it will give me fresh results. The next thing I need to do once I see my results and I'm happy with the scan query and the results, I need to save it so that my watch list will update as well. In order to save it, I'm going to go to the middle menu all the way on the right hand side and click on Save Scan Query. Now it's saved. And after a few seconds, my watch list, including the profit factor column, will update accordingly. As we can see now, the watch list once again matches our scan result because we had saved our modified scan query, and the modified watch list will be updated just a few seconds later. Let's test if the profit factor of the watch list and the scanner will actually match the chart profit factor. For this, I will navigate back to my chart. And the first thing I need to do is to make sure that the time frame of the chart is also the daily time frame. I can see this here. And the second thing I need to do is that the parameters used for Supertrend Performance match the parameters used for the profit factor calculation and also our scan query. If you go back to the parameters here, Edit Studies, and I will click on the gear icon, we can see that the multiplier is set to 2.0. But if you remember, for the scan, we had used a multiplier of 3.0. So we absolutely need to update this first. I'm going to change it to 3.0. Everything else matches up, and I will click OK and apply it to the chart. Once this is done, whenever we now click on a symbol in our watch list, it will load this symbol onto the chart as well. And we can see that the profit factor, in this case 999, matches the profit factor of our watch list and also the profit factor column in the scanner. Let's pick a different symbol, for example AAON with a profit factor of 104.57. I open it up, I load to the chart. As you can see here, the profit factor will once again match up. And you can do this for any symbol in the list. It will always match up. There is one important constraint that you must be aware of, and this is the look back period for calculating the profit factor. If you remember, for the chart indicator, you had the option via the settings to say whether you want to use an auto look back or a custom start date for calculating the profit factor. For the profit factor column, for the scan, but also for the watch list, you cannot do this. And all the time, in every case, the default historical amount of data which ThinkOrSwim uses for a particular time frame is used for calculating the profit factor. What are these defaults? You can easily see them by simply clicking on this D icon here for the time frame, and on the favorites tab you can easily see before the column what the default look back period is. For example, for the 1 minute time frame it is 1 day. For 5 minutes it is 5 days. Same for the 15 minutes. For the 30-minute time frame it is 10 days, 20 days for the 1 hour, 180 days for the 4 hour, and for the daily, which we have selected here, it is 1 year. So to recap, the profit factor custom column is calculated based on the historical data which ThinkOrSwim loads by default to the chart. So for example, for the daily time frame, it is based on 1 year of historical data. For the 5 minutes time frame, it is based on 5 days of historical data. Or for the 1 hour time frame, it is based on 20 days of historical data. This concludes this tutorial on how to use the Supertrend Performance study for ThinkOrSwim. I hope you found it useful. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us via our homepage tradingindicators.com. Thank you so much for listening.